You feel better?
Yeah. On the way.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good morning, Joe.
Morning.
Oh,
Sorry. Thank you.
Morning, David. Morning. How are you? Good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this morning's meeting. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll note that all board members are in attendance this morning, this meeting, and I will move to approve the minutes from the September 28th, 2021 board meeting. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. All those, any question or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, and I'll move to acknowledge the Secretary of State's advisory 2021-05 State v. Ferrara v. Trumbull County Board of Elections relating to a change in the Secretary of State's manual concerning numbers on petitions. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Cleary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Larry, Manager, Ballot Department. Before you should have a copy of the certification report and the official results for the September 14th primary election. There were a total of 58,437 ballots tabulated for this election, and they break down into the following categories. We have 35,875 ballots cast on election day. 18,078 ballots were cast vote by mail. 3,289 were cast early in person. 744 were cast provisionally. 184 were cast post-election day. These are the curbsides. And 267 were cast post-vote by mail, if they were returned in the 10-day window. For the vote by mail early in person summary, there were a total of 24,593 ballots issued for this election. Of those, 21,634 were returned, resulting in an 89.57% return rate. We challenged 32 ballots, and then we had an additional 362 that were returned late, resulting in a 1.79% challenge rate for the election. We also had additional 2,565 ballots that were never returned. If you remove out the return late and not returned, that challenge rate drops to 0.15% for the election. And then below that, you have a chart that lists the 32 that we challenged and the categories in which they fall into. I'd be glad to take any questions you have about the vote by mail early in person summary at this time. Okay, very good.
Just a quick question. Sure. Brian, just to re-educate me. So what's the significance of the ballot? It says no stub on ballot.
By ORC, they have to return, doesn't have to be attached anymore, but it has to be returned, so we know that's a ballot that we issued from here at the Board of Elections. It's a safety measure that we put that in place.
Because when you're voting in person, you actually take it off.
We actually take it off
Yeah.
and scan the machine. This way, when you mail it back in, it's more proof that we did indeed send you that ballot, has our barcode on it, we can scan it.
I'm glad they changed that though from has to be, because it's easy for that
They do.
perforation to come loose, but, so all they have to do is have it.
It has to be in the envelope with it, whether it's
Right,
loose or not.
whether it's
you'll still-
attached or partly
Yeah.
coming off.
That's correct.
That's
That's correct.
That's great.
So the privacy envelope too, does that have to be sealed? It used to be sealed. Is that still required?
So we, as long as we have that privacy envelope and the ballots in there, and it's completely filled out correctly, that's a good ballot here in Cuyahoga County.
Okay. No ballot returned in the ID envelope. That's just,
They didn't, for whatever reason, the ballot never came back as empty.
okay.
We reach out to them with a letter and we didn't get any contact information.
Okay.
It's a souvenir, it's on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see somebody rushing to do something, I mean, you know,
Yeah, last minute. And
thought
then-
they put it in and.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Cleary? All right. You need a motion right now for,
I'm just gonna move on to the original voting summary. There were a total of 824 provisional ballots that were cast during the election. Of those, 744 or 90.29% were valid and tabulated by the ballot department. There were a total of 80 invalid provisional ballots, resulting in a 9.71 rejection rate. That rejection rate drops to 4% when you remove the voters who would already cast a vote by mail ballot or weren't registered for the election. And below that, you have a chart that lists out which categories the 80 rejections fall into. I'd be glad to take any questions you might have about the provisional summary. Hearing none, we'll move on to the ballot remake portion. During this election, we remade 55 ballot sheets in accordance with the board-approved remake policy. The overall remake rate for this election was 0.288%. If you exclude the UOCAVAs, which we know we're going to have to remake because most of those are electronic, and the voter for ineligible contest, those are the PWP provisionals, that rejection rate, that remake rate drops to 0.173%. And below that, you have the which categories they fall, the 55 fall into of the 11 approved remake policies. Any questions on the remake portion?
I just have a question. I was actually having a session with my mentee about board policies, and didn't our ballot remake policy get codified into a Secretary of State directive or advisory, or am I imagining that? I thought they copied we had done such a good job with our ballot remake policy that the Secretary of State's office at some point incorporated. I could be right. I need that information so I'm not giving my mentee the wrong information. But we always say we remade per our board policy, but for some reason, I thought the Secretary of State somehow maybe we get just a pat on the back about it. I don't know.
They encourage
Somebody check that and just let us know.
Yes. We,
Is my memory faulty?
I don't
Probably,
know
but
if they have put this in statute, the election official manual directive, they have beefed up some of that. So we'll check that. If there's anything, I think it might be there.
okay, just let me know because I want to make sure I'm giving my mentee the right information. So, thank you.
Another question for you, Brian. So the UOCAVA, we just had 9 UOCAVA votes come
That's
in?
right.
And how many were sent out? Do you have any idea?
I would assume it's all 9. Usually they're just electronic, too early,
Oh,
and there just weren't any that requested for this election.
okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Brian?
Moving on, there were a total of 65 overvotes reported for this election, resulting in a 0.111% overvote rate for the election. There were 442 precincts involved in the election, with voter history ongoing. Ballot reconciliation is currently being conducted. There are no automatic recounts for this election. The requested recount deadline will be Wednesday, October 6th at 4 p.m. We don't have a date and time currently for the post-election audit that will be conducted once we finish the November election, but we will randomly select which race we're going to pick today. And I will take any questions you may have on the results for the September election.
This is just a question for Tony, because somebody did reach out and ask me why the early in voting doesn't start until the 7th of October. Can you just,
Sure.
for the record, explain and thanks for sending that email,
Yeah.
because I immediately, right after I got it, I got a question about it.
So there are, for lack of a better term, there are 2 start dates for absentee voting for the November 2nd election. It is all driven off of this September 14th election. The easy part is if a jurisdiction or a contest was not involved in the September election, they start Tuesday, October 5th. So they start the day after the close of registration, which is how it should be. But the reason that there is this difference for these individuals in this election is, so today we will certify the election results. Per statute now, we have to allow for a 5-day requested recount window. So that 5 days will start tomorrow, and it's calendar days, will start tomorrow and it will end on Wednesday.
Is it paid?
Paid, exactly, paid. So we do not have any automatic ones. But we still have to, per statute, allow this 5-day window if someone wants to come in, request and pay for that. We have to allow that window to expire before we can issue, the Board of Elections can issue a certificate of nomination. It's that certificate of nomination then, which kind of finalizes things and then allows individuals to appear on the next ballot, which in this instance is November 2nd. So that 5-day window will end at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, October 6th. So we can't send anything out at that point. Then Thursday the 7th now, for the 442 precincts that are involved in this election, that's the first day that, one, we can mail them an absentee or vote by mail ballot, and they can come downstairs and vote early in person. It's because these particular communities are chartered communities, and in their charter, they determine that they're going to have an election on the 2nd Tuesday in September, And this unfortunately is one of the unfortunate aspects that impacts the next election. So we try to certify this as fast as possible, and that's why there was a meeting at the beginning of the week, and we have this meeting today, where typically this meeting would happen 21 days, which would be next Tuesday. So we didn't want to do that because then what would happen is the 5 days would start after that date and would even eat up more of the absentee window. So we try to figure out when can we accurately and correctly do everything, and that's why we're here today. But that's why it's rooted in statute, and it is, again, because these are charter communities that elected to have this election at this point in time.
So we could have, and I'm not casting the finger of fault or anything, we couldn't meet till Monday to even look at the provisionals. We have to wait 14 days.
You have to have them all processed, but you can't open a provisional ballot. You have to have a meeting to open them, and the first time you can have that meeting is the 11th day after the election,
Which was
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have met Saturday, met Wednesday.
Yes.
But but administratively,
Right.
it takes time to do that.
It does take time, and as you know, we're trying to schedule our meetings far out in advance because everybody has their other commitments to do that. And so we try to do it we always try to have that meeting when we can, the Monday after the 11th day. So basically the 13th day, we do that. We never know what the provisional load is in an election until you come up to election day. Could be 50, it could be 25,000.
So I'm not so concerned about the ballots going out on Wednesday. They're going out. The
Mhm.
people that just goes out 2 days later, they'll still get an absentee ballot. But what about the people that come in on Tuesday and Wednesday, say, I want to vote, and you're going to say, sorry, you can't. And I know you commented that there's going to be a marketing effort, right?
Right.
With these.
So
How do you make certain, we post signs up there, what do we do?
So what we will do is what we're sending around now, this is just a little card that if someone does come in that situation, we'll hand them this, we'll explain to them and hand them this card. So they walk away with a little bit of an understanding, because we also anticipate if someone is turned away, they're going to walk out and the first thing they're going to do is either call a candidate or someone and say, hey, I've been denied my right to vote, and hopefully they have this card. And we have emailed all the candidates. We emailed all the candidates this week with this message so they know. So hopefully they can kind of get on the same page and say it's okay. So we
It's on our website.
we put it on our website. We have emailed the candidates. We have emailed the two major political parties. We are sending out a press release today after the meeting that will include this information, and we will do a standalone press release again on Monday with it at 10 a.m. We have invited the media to come in, and I will personally address them and really want to kind of single focus it on this item. We provided the message to Mary Louise Madigan, who is the Director of Communications for the county executive, and asking them to use their tools to also push out. And
What about the leadership in the community, communities affected? Who have we talked to in those respective communities beyond the candidates? I mean, have we?
I think Mike West worked with the mayors to get the message out for these municipalities that are
Yeah.
involved there.
We will. There's kind of a balance of getting everything out at the same time and making sure we have this meeting before we do the next big wave.
Okay.
Yeah, we did want to certify today. so
Sure,
it's official.
yeah, sure.
But that's,
But that will be part of
Mhm.
the communications.
So and I don't know, we'd have to talk to our legal counsel, but is there a way to let these people vote and just simply segregate the ballots and say, hey, if there's a challenge, then, we're going to have to get in touch with you. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot, I think it's very unlikely it's going to be a challenge. From a house to a hutch that's not going to happen, a recount.
there is plenty of, in my opinion, plenty of difference in the votes that I don't think anyone will want to come forward. We haven't heard any chatter about anyone wanting to come forward with the recount. However,
If we're following the law, I would just say we should just follow the law. I mean, we should definitely get his opinion.
And I don't know if the law permits it, that's all. If the law
Right.
permits us to let them vote and then segregate them, then let's do that.
So-
instead of going to-
Sure.
what I don't know is,
You don't have to give me an answer now, I mean, I think it's a
Yeah.
legal question.
yeah, because I'm just thinking out loud, like when they came in person, that mean that we would want them to vote provisional? So that would be, because right now, when you come in and vote during that process, you're able to put your ballot through a scanner.
Provisionally?
Obviously, you can't do
But
that.
you can vote provisionally.
Right.
Mark, did you have something to say?
You're on mute.
Mark,
You're on mute.
Mark, you're muted. And we would have to look down to the Secretary of State.
That's something.
And this
Is it
is
star
something-
6? Can you do a star 6?
He's unmuted. I think he unmuted himself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No, we can't. No. Did we mute him? No?
And this is not the first time this happened. So this happens every odd year.
Well, my other question, does the SOS know about this? I mean, do they know that we're not opening it up to certain people?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and if they said this is the guidance? Is
Yeah,
that the guidance?
they know they know that this is going on, they know what we're doing, and they're supportive of it.
Okay, because I mean, what you really have is a clash of two laws. One says, hey, early voting starts on the 5th,
Mhm.
and the other says you got recounts that can take place until the 6th. And we've decided, well, if that's the case, then not vote until the 7th. It's
Right,
true, and I
yeah.
get that.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if a provisional ballot would probably be,
Hello,
if
hello.
it's legal. Mark, can you talk?
Oh.
No?
No, I'm sorry. It's an interesting question and I can look into it, but I don't have, I don't have anything definitive to offer.
Well, please do that, because if we can do it provisionally, obviously that'll avoid any issue, because if people come, and someone will, it's gonna, we need to have it addressed as best as possible. So I like the fact that you're putting forth these marketing efforts and advising the candidates and the political leaders in each city. Those are all good steps, but if we can do it provisionally, that'd be great.
So we will, and I will get back to all of you know what, between Mark and talking with Secretary of State again, seeing if that's a viable option or not.
And I continue with the marketing efforts about
Most
the 7th,
definitely.
but in case someone comes in, then, all right, thank you, Manager, for that question.
Oh,
Thanks only for your answers. And Mark, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Brian, where are you at now?
We are just ready for the acknowledgement of all the various things we gotta do, the remakes, the open meals.
All right, I will move to certify the official, move to authorize to approve the remake of the optical scan ballots from the September 14th, 2021 primary election. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize to approve the absentee ballots from the September 14th, 2021 primary election. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Move to authorize to approve the provisional ballots from the September 14th, 2021 primary election. If there's a second. Second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're passing around the post, I'm going to hold off on the pre and post results only because I know Joe hasn't had a chance to look at them. Have you looked at them, Lisa? You
Excuse
can,
me, yes. Yeah, I did. I'm good.
I got to give it time to Joe.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Take your time on it, Joe. Then I will move, we can certify now. I'll move to certify the official results of the September 14th, 2021 primary election. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Acknowledgement of, no, we're working on that. And then we could pick the post-election audit. We need to randomly do that, Ryan?
Yeah, there's 19 eligible races, for this election, we're just gonna randomly pick one, and that's one, we don't have a date and time, we will set that once we certify the November
All
election.
right, what do we got there, Dave?
Cleveland Council Ward 2.
All right, I will confirm, Cleveland Council, Ward 2 is the post-election audit for the September 14th, 2021 primary election. I'll leave that selection. So I will move to have Cleveland Ward 2 be the post-election audit for the September 14th, 2021 primary election. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And are you going to talk about the final approval of the ballot order, Brian? You have a-
I can just give a real quick one paragraph summary.
Sure.
Before you have the final ballot order for the November 2nd, general election. This ballot order is based upon, all the measures put in the Secretary of State's election officials manual, based on previous like elections or 101% of the turnout. So for this ballot order, we based it upon 60% of the extra voters that fall into the extra nonpartisan category. We compared those numbers versus 115% of the total turnout from the November 2018 or November 2019 general elections. We compared the two numbers and then we picked the highest of the two numbers. We set a minimum of 25 ballots ordered. So anything that fell underneath the threshold of 25, we raised that up to 25. We ordered 50 ballots per precinct for early in person. We ordered 5 ballots per precinct for hospitals, and then the nursing homes, we know exactly how many people are registered each of those, so we actually ordered ballots based on need for those.
You know, Brian, I had reached out to Tony. I think you got the answer provided. The ones in red, for example, on the first page, those are split precincts.
Yeah, all the boards of education around here for the members of the board of education. So every school is active for this election. So all the ones highlighted in red, I just do that for the print vendor. So they can see those, they need to make sure they're getting the 01, 02, we're getting print out.
And what does the portion column mean when it says portion?
One half goes to one school district, the other half goes to the other school district. So like for Beechwood, I believe it's.
Right, so the Beechwood portion 1, that's actually those, geographically, those individuals go to Beechwood schools.
That's right.
And then in Beechwood OOE portion 2, those individuals, based on where they geographically live, they go to the Warrensville Heights City Schools. So as far as the rest of the ballot, portion 1 and portion 2, mayor and council contests, those will be identical. What the difference will be then will be, again, based geographically on when they reside, where they reside, what school district they will have.
The only reason you have a portion column is because you have split precincts.
That's right.
Otherwise, it's the same ballot for the one community.
Right. Everybody defaults to portion 1, and then, like, for example, this OOE would not have been active in August for the congressional race. So that would have not been highlighted, and you would have only seen a portion 1. So it's really school districts, some congressional districts, and some state Senate and state House districts, depending on what the ballot is, will activate or deactivate a split.
Thank you. I will move to approve the final approval of the ballot order for the November 2nd, 2021 general election. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, your entire staff. I'll move on to acknowledge those passing elected office. Unfortunately, a friend to all of us here on the board and many of us in this room, the untimely death of Judge Nancy McDonald, and of course, Mr. Kamat and the Orange Village Council. Did he pass away too?
He resigned.
He
So we
resigned.
resign.
Okay. And well, I'll move to acknowledge her passing and Mr. Kamat's resignation. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I will move to acknowledge the withdrawals of member of the council in Orange Village, Monda Kirtland. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And on to the approval of vouchers. I'll move to approve the vouchers as set forth on our board agenda. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. Question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to new business.
Jeff, do you have to acknowledge though the pre and post test?
Oh, we do. Thank you for reminding me. And
Yeah, I'm good. Did we do that before we started?
no, we were
Oh,
waiting
that's
for
right.
you to, you've had a chance to review.
Yes.
Okay, I'll move to acknowledge the pre and post test results of the vote tabulation system from the September 14th, 2021 primary election. If there's a second. Second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Tony. On to new business.
Okay. Just first thing, I just wanted to hit on National Voter Registration Day. That was this past Tuesday, September 28th. It is a national event that happens across the country. And what we do here in Cuyahoga County is we kind of serve as a administrative process for this, where Cleveland Votes does a lot in getting individuals to volunteer and participate. What we do is we provide some materials, registration cards. We will train people on how to do those things. We offer up our building for as a meeting site. We take the lead on putting together the flyer as people want to volunteer. And so we do a lot of that, as well as we have a couple of our own events that we then go ahead and staff. And so we did do that this past Tuesday. We set a goal of about 2,000 new registrations or updates to get. That's kind of been realistic with what we've been able to do in the past. And so far from the data we've collected, we've had 2,400. So we've surpassed what we wanted to do, and we'll continue to get some more information in today, beginning of next week. And that number will be a little bit higher, which is good. There were 30 local partners that we worked with and had at least 36 locations in which there were events with that. Again, these entities, they go out and they secure their own locations and do in their own staffing, and we just advertise that. But we had events at the Strongsville, North Royalton, and Mayfield Village libraries, as well as we were in Public Square and in our parking lot. We got some good coverage this year. We had at least 11 local news stories about voter registration, so any talk about that is good. Get people registered up. Alia Burgos, who works in our community outreach department, is the lead on that, and she did a nice job with this. The poll work department also helped us out by providing us with some staff, because when we're out there, we're always pushing, hey, let's get some poll workers and vote by mail apps. So we did do that. Facebook, we had a presence there, and from the analytics they gave me, it looks like we had like 9,000 individuals who clicked on something regarding National Voter Registration Day, so that was good. And we think it was a success. So we'll get ready soon before we know what to gear up for next year.
I do want to say, even before your report, there was absolutely wonderful coverage on the news about this. And I didn't know we were doing all the other stuff. So, you know, kudos to Ilya and all the staff that really worked on this. There was, and Mike, I mean, whatever you guys did, there was a lot of good press. On TV, there was a lot I saw. So did I hear you say the goal was 200? We got 2,400 and better?
It was 2,000.
Oh, I was going to say. Well,
2,000, yeah.
Oh, but that's still wonderful.
Oh, sure. So we've exceeded that.
So I just wanted to say, great job. Thank you. Important day and important.
You know, thank you, Joe. And just while you're talking about registration, and I know I've mentioned this to you, Tony, maybe you can comment on this now. Just, we've got notification from these two outreach groups, and they're interested in, on their own, trying to attempt to register individuals, correct?
Right.
So what, I know there's, I think if I recall, it's caused confusion in the past to voters, because they get the notice and say, wait, I'm registered, I didn't move, what's going on? So what are we doing to address that, or how are we prepared to respond?
So that, it does, and actually Tony K, former registration department, is going to take more lead on this one, but yes, they are very well intentioned, and sometimes they're very well intentioned, and we still have some unfortunate side effects that happen.
So, Tony,
The two organizations are Voter Participation Center and the Center for Voter Information, and their goal is to get more people registered to vote. They send out letters. They notified us that they would be sending out approximately 87,000 letters in Cuyahoga County. What they're trying to do is identify people who young people who recently turned 18 or aren't registered, people who recently moved, or people who are just of voting age but not registered. And what they do is they compare different databases to our voter registration database to try to identify people who might not be registered to vote. In the past, the way that their letter was worded, it was much stronger, and people got the impression that they were not registered, and we would receive a flood of calls and confusion of people who were concerned about the status of their voter registration. Since that time, they've worked, the two organizations have worked with the Secretary of State's office to modify the way that the letter is worded. And I just talked with registration staff today, because the letters began going out September 22nd. And they said that the calls are minimal and they don't seem to be having that same bump of calls and confusion. So ultimately, the organizations are achieving more of what they want, which is getting unregistered voters to register and not creating confusion for those who are.
We're prepared to respond to it. It's not overwhelming.
Staff has been given the sample letters and information, so they're equipped to be able to respond to those calls.
All right, thank you for addressing. I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, that's, and then I just was going to give an update. We barely certified this one, right? And we're starting the next one, next election. So the November 2nd election, this upcoming Monday is the close of registration. We'll be open till 9 p.m. It's statutorily required to take in new registrations. And then we talked about the staggered start times for absentee voting for this upcoming election, in which I will get some additional guidance on that. And we've done what we could to try to get the word out. As far as poll locations are concerned, we will have polling location changes in both Brook Park and North Royalton, and one location in Cleveland. We've had various poll location changes throughout the year. However, they've had, I guess that's one benefit of having all these elections, is that they get that opportunity to find out their new polling location outside of the general. So on this one here, Brook Park, we'll be going from 2 voting locations to 4 voting locations. This will be their first time voting this year, and that was a location in November of 2020 where we did have pretty hefty lines out there. And so Brook Park has 4 wards, and now each ward will have its own voting location, because in November of 20, the secondary location that was a single ward, no issues at all. So we have previously worked with the mayor in Brook Park to get the word out and make this a positive thing. It will impact 6 precincts, and it'll be about 6,100 voters in Brook Park who will be changing. North Royalton, we're making changes there because they've had 2 school buildings that have closed. And again, working with the mayor there in the school board, we will be going from 6 locations to 5 locations in North Royalton. This will impact 11 precincts and be about 11,000 voters. The mayor is committed to putting out a good campaign to help us educate the voters in North Royalton about these moves. And then in Cleveland, it's 1 location, it's Plymouth Church. We voted in Plymouth Church in August. They had a conflict in September, so we went down the street to Our Lady of Peace Church, and Plymouth no longer has that conflict. So we're going back there because Plymouth is where we want to be the permanent voting location. Our Lady of Peace, we had a twist some arms, but they were willing to help us out one time, and we're thankful for that, but they don't want us on a permanent basis. So that's Ward 4 precincts Q, R, and S, and then they also have Ward 6, letter T there. So that's about 3,600 voters. We have sent out letters to the individuals in Brook Park and North Royalton, and gave also notification to the individuals at Plymouth Church, and the voter information guide that we send out also captured. So we started our voter information guides. We held back in particular in North Royalton because we were just trying to get that finalized. So we wanted to make sure we put that correct information, and we did, and got that out. So those are our poll place changes. That'll be first time changes for November. And again, we have notified them, and John Eddie is creating the interactive map that will be on our website that will be titled poll place changes, where people can kind of use that too. As far as poll workers are concerned, we did mail out poll worker paychecks for September this week, which is a good thing. We were able to put some more resources on that to get that a little bit quicker than usual. And what that will now let us do is kind of like a single focus on poll workers for November, instead of having to split staff on trying to get paychecks out and the other half trying to do November. So we'll be 100% now November recruitment. We already have a third of our workers. We have 1,400 PEOs who are placed and trained. One of the, again, I guess the benefits of having multiple elections is a lot of these individuals that placed and trained number is going to almost be the same because they've already trained, it's just getting them to commit. This number will start to jump up a lot in the upcoming week for a couple of reasons. One of which is the staff is we're going to have like a split or staggered shifts. Some staff will work 8:30 to 4:30, and some will work like 10:30 to 6:30. So we get some more evening hours to get, hopefully we typically have a better success rate getting somebody on the phone because they're coming home from work. So we will do that. We will have more resources now focused on recruitment for November. And because we have the ability to do it, we started, I think yesterday, pushing out large numbers of emails to workers, which then turns out phone calls for us to go ahead and get people locked out. So no worries at this point in time. I think we'll get what we need to be. We've already done our standard, not less than 2 We probably will end up being close again to somewhere 3 to 3.5 workers per precinct for this election, but because of the type of election, we will be successful in executing that. So we will, but hopefully we'll have more. So we'll, a little bit early to let us know that. As far as turnout, here's my sheet. I do have a guesstimate that we are using to help us plan for operations for the election. We think it'll be a 30% turnout, and that would kind of fall in line with what we had happen in 2017 and 13, which was the last time we had Cleveland mayoral contest on the ballot.
Excuse me, Tony, is that for Cleveland only?
That's the whole county.
Okay.
So I'll work on some Cleveland specific numbers, but right now this would just be overall, all county, 30%. That would have us taking around 265,000 people participating in the election. Maybe around 80,000 plus people will hopefully vote by mail. We only have about 19,000 applications actually processed now that will in the hopper to go out next week. However, we are now getting, so our voter information guide has been hitting, which is a big thing to kick off activity. We're getting about 3,000 applications a day, but we're also getting about 3,000 requests for individuals for us to send them an application for them to complete and return. So if that continues on, even though we're almost at 20, the 80 is realistic where we are a little over 30 days out. So we will have that. And those are the main things for this at this point in time, unless there's questions.
I have a question. So I just want to revisit this co-worker paycheck issue, because that is a big issue. I think we got some correspondence and email, very thoughtful email from one of our.
Delgado? Mr. Delgado?
Yeah, I mean, it really resonated with me, and I know all of us have, this has come up before. What can we do to get these people paid more quickly? I mean, we want co-workers to work, we want people to work, but if they, and thank God for them being willing, but some of the disincentive may be, it's gonna take me months to get my paycheck. There's gotta be a better way to do this. I know we've talked about it, we've tried different things, but there's gotta be, to me, we need to focus on some sort of permanent fix to expedite the issuance of these checks.
So we, and you did have a well thought out email, and so we always look at this because we want it to be quickly. So it takes us about 14 calendar days to create the file, the payroll file. So that you figure you have 4,000 people who that we're trying to create these paychecks for. You have the no-shows and call-offs and that's happening over the weekend, Monday night, Tuesday morning. So you're trying to now get a clear picture of actually who did report, who showed up, and have it so that's accurate. So it takes us after election day, by probably Thursday, Friday, it takes us to gather all the materials, get it organized, so we kind of have a clearer picture of where we're going. Then we start to do some data entry on that. Once we get our data entry, we go through 2 rounds of proofing to ensure that everything is correct, because you have your different rate of pay, whether you're a poll worker, a voting location manager, whatever it may be. And you also have individuals who start off as a poll worker but get promoted on election day to voting location manager because of no-show. So you're getting that clean picture. There's phone calls that go out to individuals at that time because maybe they didn't sign in, so you're trying to get clarity, but you have information on pink memos. And by the time it settles, it's about 14 days for that. Then we send the file to the county because the county will produce the check. County only produces checks twice a week. And when those come back, we then stuff those in an envelope. So it takes almost a week then for them to give us the checks, get them back and stuff them. So we typically get checks out within 3 weeks, and then it's the post office. One thing we can do is try to get more resources on it. That would help it to go quicker on the front end. But it's, and it's been challenging a little bit this time because we have had split resources. So we could have maybe got checks out a little faster, but then that means you're doing nothing for the overlap election. We won't have that situation in November, so we'll be able to attack it more aggressively. But that's kind of just behind the scenes. But yes, we do want to get those checks out
Yeah.
as fast as we
And I appreciate you sort of laying out the timeline, if there's any way we could staff up to help expedite some of those processes. Obviously, it has to be done accurately, and you and I we're all about being accurate, not fast all the time. But I think this is important, and it may impact our poll worker recruitment. And, people know that, I mean, they're doing it because of civic duty too, but I mean, people need to get paid pretty timely. So if whatever we can do to staff it up or figure out how to maybe shorten the process. I know you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can work on that a bit. Thank you for explaining them.
because it definitely generates phone calls, right? They
Yeah.
give us a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And, quite honestly, you put 3 to 5 weeks, because if you deliver them in 2 weeks, you don't get any complaints. But if you tell them 2 and they come 3 weeks, oh boy,
Yeah.
you get a
Yeah,
thousand phone
that's fair.
calls. So that's part of that process.
Sure. Thank you.
Just one, I have another question, Tony or Tony. They're redrawing the county council districts. I know John was involved with that.
Yes.
And I see that from the directive we got, advisory 2104, it talks about the legislative authority of each city is responsible for subdividing their city into wards within 90 days after October 1st. That doesn't involve us, does it? Do they simply give us the information and we redraw those districts, or?
Right, so some of these municipalities, especially like the charter communities, they'll have in their charters where they have to rebalance their wards based on whether it's either registered voters or population, depending on what their charter says. And they do that independently. And then they will submit to us legal definitions of what their boundaries are. We then will go ahead and apply those. When we do that, it may require us to make some adjustments to precincts, depending, because we talked about the ballot order and sprinkle these things. We try to minimize that as much as we can and not create splits when we do that. So we have not gotten anything from any municipalities. And there's these caveats though too, that while they have deadlines to get things in, we also have deadlines in that we can't change precinct boundaries so far in front of a primary election, especially when you're electing committee representatives for the major parties. So in gubernatorial years, that's when the Democrats elect theirs and the Republicans do theirs in presidential years. So that there won't be much time to do anything. And we haven't heard anything from any communities. County council we're a chartered community here. They have done what they needed to do, and they provided us with the legal definitions for theirs. So we will be able to go ahead and get that taken care of. What we can't do, there's multiple steps in that process. So we will start to work on creating our maps internally behind the scenes and not publish them to the website. And then we will have staff proof the legal definitions, which basically is the assignment of the precincts to the wards, and get that as clean as we can. We can't make DIMS changes until after we certify this November election, because if we go in and we start messing around with that in the middle of the election cycle, it creates a lot of problems. However, that piece will be simple for us with county council. They did a nice job. It's very clean and easy for us to do that, and we'll be able to turn that piece around.
John and his shop will be busy.
Oh, yes, yes. And he's doing it right. And he's doing the maps now because we want to try to get out in front and at least proof the maps, and that'll help the rest of the stuff. As far as everybody reads the paper, we know what's going on as far as statewide with State House and Senate and congressional stuff. And that will probably be given to us and tell us to make it happen in 2 days or whatever. But
Well, inevitably, because the hearing's in December, and depending on how the court rules, it could be a quick timeline, but I'm sure we'll be prepared to
yeah, we will stand
anticipate that.
for that, because people have to collect petitions and turn them in, 90 days before the May primary in order to get on that ballot. And so what we will advise people in the meantime, at least from a county council district, is stay in the middle of the districts, because typically it's the fringe that kind of, you run your own risk if you try to do it in advance.
Just one other question. I see we're scheduled to meet October 18th to certify any recounts.
Recount.
And then we'll just continue to keep that date, because just for business purposes and updates on the election.
Yes, I would like to keep that because that would be our meeting that we would have before the November election. We would go into recess on that. And we probably will, we may have a personnel, we might have a recruitment process done. We might be able to come forward there. You never know what bills will pop up. And also we need to do some of our final acknowledgements, our final allocation of equipment, and I think our whole payroll and some of those administrative type items at that meeting.
Terrific. Any other questions for Tony on the board? I just finally, do we have any public comment, Mary? Oh, thank you. And just want to acknowledge that unfortunately I won't be able to attend, but Ina Joe has been awarded the Smart Women's Award honoree, and she has a breakfast with her and the other honorees next week, and we want to congratulate you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I won't be there at the breakfast either. I better give you a heads up. If anybody wants to come then.
No, I don't feel too bad.
Don't feel badly. It's a great honor. It's a great organization, and thanks for even acknowledging that. Appreciate it.
All right, no public comment, hearing others. We will adjourn today and come back on October 18th if there's a second. Thank you, all in favor.
Aye.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
9 days, public first.
Are you responsible for these? This is nice.